Hello, everybody. Welcome to this hastily convened F1 show, first after the summer break. We're going to look ahead to the Dutch Grand Prix a little bit later. But first of all, to the big news that kick-started the second half of the season, and that is that the 11th team that will be starting in 2026, Cadillac, have announced their driver lineup. Over 100 podiums between them. One of them is Valtteri Bottas, and the other, I'm delighted to say, joins myself, Craig Slater, and David Crofty in the form of Sergio Checo Perez. Checo, welcome back. It's been a long time without you in the paddock. Before we get into this, how's your year off been?
It's been amazing. I've had a fantastic year. Being able to step back for a bit, for a year, and seeing the sport from the outside. It makes you realize a lot of things, like how the sport works, things that as a driver you used to worry about that people from the outside don't even know, don't even think about. So yeah, it kind of made me see the sport in a different way, and it made me miss it. Yeah, I still feel like I have a lot more to give to the sport.
Well, we do too. Tell us, how did this all come about? When did you first start talking to the team at Cadillac and GM?
Well, it started back in December, really, when it became clear that I was going to leave Red Bull. They approached me and they kept me up to date with everything, what they were doing, the people that was behind it. It was quite impressive, and also I think together with my timings, because in the beginning I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, in terms of if I would miss it, if I wanted to come back or not. So I think it really aligned well with our timings, and it worked out well. And yeah, I'm really happy, really enthusiastic to come back into a project, because coming back into F1 with another team will have been kind of a bit of a similar story to what I've done already. But this one excites me because it's starting from zero, and I can put all my years of experience into the team, all my knowledge, the culture. I've been working with a lot of different teams, and this is what really excites me about this project.
I was here when they announced that you were joining along with Valtteri to the staff, and there were cheers and there was applause. So they're looking forward to having you. But I'm interested to hear you say that you had to ask yourself, did you want to carry on? And I think the team here at Cadillac, they wanted to speak to Red Bull to know if you still had the desire to go for 24 races on a Formula One season. Was it a difficult decision to properly understand whether you still wanted that kind of life?
Yeah, definitely it was. I'll be honest, it wasn't an easy decision, because I've had the privilege to have a fantastic career in the sport. And yeah, to be honest, I felt like I've done it all, in the sport. But the longer it went on, and the more I thought about it, I obviously spoke with my family about it, and we all felt like this is the right thing for us as a family, as a project, to get back to enjoy it, because as you know, the last year especially was very hard. Was very demanding, and I didn't enjoy it. So I love the sport, and I want to go back to enjoy it, and this is my main engine. The main drive factor that I'm coming back is to just enjoy and give back a lot of love to the sport that has given me everything.
Checo, you look about 20 years younger, mate, than the last time we saw you. You really do. You've either had some great Botox while you've been away, or holiday life suits you. But I've not seen you looking this relaxed for a long time. And I think that is a big takeout for a lot of fans here, because there's a lot of love for you, that people want to see you eventually go out from the sport on a high, and actually not the way it ended at Red Bull, which promised much, but man, was that a struggle.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as you can imagine, this year has been a lot better than the previous year. So I'm sure I look a bit fresher in that regard. And
A lot fresher.
yeah, it was a lot of weight on my shoulders the last year, but yeah, I really felt. I mean, I don't feel like I got nothing to prove because what has happened in at my previous team has shown already what were the struggles that I had. But to me, the main drive factor that I'm back is because I want to enjoy. Like you say, I have a lot of love from the fans. I deserve to go whenever I want, and this is a unique opportunity.
Checo, can I just pick you up on that? I mean, obviously we're here to talk about your new team, but I want to go, you just mentioned it there and you touched upon it, that the struggles that those that have come after you have had in that second Red Bull alongside Max Verstappen. Do you feel that enabled your stock to go back up there because you had much success with Red Bull, particularly in the first couple of years there? When you look at what's happened there, can you now say from a point removed from it, exactly why it's so difficult and why they're going through those struggles, the two that have come since?
I think, it's just the whole dynamics of the team, that everything is driven. Obviously, they have a unique talent over there with Max, and everything is, when you get there, the development curve they have is very difficult for the second driver that is there to basically adapt to the car. It's a very unique car, very unique driving style that I managed to, I'll say, to survive for many years. But it's difficult, and it's the way it works, with and you've seen it with great drivers just before my time or even after my time. I mean, I think they've scored like Yuki and Liam. They've scored like 5 points or something like that. So it is very, very difficult, very tricky, and they're fantastic drivers, But it's just the way it is to drive it. It's just a very unique driving style. Sometimes I could cope with it. I could adapt to it, but as soon as there was a variable with the rain, with the wind or something, it just became undrivable, and then you start making mistakes one after the other. You still lose. You are losing confidence, but mentally I was super strong, and that's why I survived there for so long. Because I had a lot of pressure, and a lot of you guys were onto me, and now you realize that the job I've done in that car and that team.
Very much so. Hindsight has very much proven that. What did Cadillac say to you to prove that they were the right team for you? What have you seen in this Cadillac project that makes you think this can be a real progression?
The ambitions that there is behind it. With Dan Torres, the TWG project behind it, the commitment they're having, is not just a new team. It's a team that is coming full in, and you can see with the drivers. They've gone for a lot of experience. They've done the same with a lot of engineering team, a lot of the group. It's a team. Yeah, it's a new team, but it's a team that has a lot of experience in Formula One. People that have done it all in the sport, and this is something great to have.
Can I just ask an interesting point that Pat Simmons made today, who you'll be working with you? He says he thinks some drivers struggled a little bit with the ground effect cars, but he said he thinks you and Lewis Hamilton will get on far better with the 2026 cars. Do you also think that?
I think this era of cars that we're currently in with the ground effect cars, it's been tricky. It's been tricky, but it obviously, I think, with Lewis, you've seen it. He's done a tremendous job at Mercedes when they didn't have a competitive car. I think for him, at the end of an era, to be changing teams and getting to adapt has been tricky. But obviously, it's a fantastic driver, and for sure he'll figure it out. I think we've seen it with many different drivers that it's all about adapting a car. into a driving style that sometimes it just takes a little bit longer than others. So yeah, I've done well in the previous eras. So yeah, I do expect that the new regulations will suit my style.
Just the final one on your teammate Valtteri. I was just looking on Instagram. He had himself on a surfboard with with an American flag behind him, and I think it was a can of beer. It might have been something else, but saying hello to the States. What do you make of that combination? You two, very experienced, pretty chill characters. Do you think that's going to work well? And what are the hopes for season 1?
Definitely. I think it's going to work well. We are both very competitive. We are both very, very hungry. We've seen it all in the sport as well, which I think definitely helps. But we are very, motivated to be back. Obviously, Valtteri is like half in already. I'm really happy to be out of the sport for a year. I'm not looking forward to go to any races this year, to be honest. I'm happy to see them from the TV because there's a lot of races coming up for us in the next years.
Thank you, Checo. Appreciate your time. We'll let you get on. I know you've got a very busy day.
Good luck,
I miss you guys. It's been a while.
I'll wait to see you in person.
To the sport. This is why I'm coming back to the sport, to see you all guys there.
Good man.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Cheers, guys.
Good lad. Good lad. I like that. It was us lot. We're getting into him, weren't we, towards the end? But the thing with Checo is he's honest as the day is long with this sort of thing in his performances. And we've always, long relationship with him. I remember going back in, was it 2014? He was a McLaren driver, and him and JB, was it 2014 or 2015?
13, I think, wasn't it? It was after
13,
Lewis
yeah,
left.
13.
Yeah, 13.
And I remember we filmed in a pub at 9 a.m. doing pub sports. And Jensen was like, let's have a couple of pints of Badger Bitter or something like that during the shoot. And Check was like, I'll jump in. And he's just really relaxed.
Funny enough, Lasers, I was talking to Matt Bishop, who was here today, about the day Checo was presented as a McLaren driver. And I reminded them that he arrived with his McLaren shirt out of his trousers. Mm-hmm. And as soon as Ron Dennis had been in the room 2 minutes, I looked around and the shirt was tucked in. Someone had told him he had to. But actually, someone made the point, Matt was making the point a little bit, who's now got a communications business and is working with Cadillac, just to explain why he was here today. He's saying that he thinks the ethos here and the slight, not laid back, but the slightly more informal nature of this startup team and the characters involved in it will suit Checo very well. And it was a difficult, as he just said himself, atmosphere at Red Bull. Never mind the car, but I think what was going on there did not help him latterly. And he didn't really thrive at McLaren, where I think it was a little bit of a straitjacket, some of their ways of operating as well. So this. And it's a kind of an underdog team at this moment in time. And we know how well he did at Force India just down the road from here. So this is a really good fit, I think you have to say.
Yeah, that might be one of his biggest struggles, actually, when he does come to the factory for the first time, is not carrying on and parking in his old car parking spot, which is about 400 yards down the road. Just on the point of, we gave Sergio a hard time. He did come in for a lot of criticism in his final season. And hindsight is a wonderful thing. And the way things have played out at Red Bull has made Sergio's efforts look a lot better than they were at the time. What I'm really glad about is that he's now got a second chance. And Valtteri has a second chance to show people that they still are really good, solid, competitive racing drivers and can put a performance in on any given Sunday. And he deserves to go out on a high for the service that he has put into Formula One, as does Valtteri as well. I mean, there's a tantalising prospect that the last time these two were on the track, they actually collided. Valtteri hit Sergio and got a 5-place grid penalty as a result. Which it does carry over. Yeah, I know the rules have changed, but as they were applied at the time, he starts his first race next year in Melbourne with a 5-place grid penalty.
It might not matter. It might. I mean, I don't want to do it down. Maybe they'll come off the bat firing. But as Graham Lowndes said, Crofty, and to you, Craig, he was just talking about the fact. Imagine you're a team and you've been in the sport for 10 years, and Cadillac come out and beat you. They're not setting the bar that high at the moment, or expectations that high, because they are a new team and no one's expecting them in that first season to be anything other than 19th and 20th. Maybe they are internally, but I mean, how do we gauge a successful season for Cadillac coming into the sport?
I've been here a few times now, and it's amazing what they're doing. They're having to move departments to different industrial units, which they've taken up at this Silverstone base. They have got a chassis, which they had that in position a few weeks ago. They were able to test a wind tunnel model a little bit in advance of some of the other teams because they weren't officially a licensed competitor until relatively recently. But yeah, Graham Loudon talked about it being a bit like the Apollo project, trying to get an F1 car ready as a startup for the new season in a little bit over a year. Have they had? Not even that, I don't think, since they got the license. And so it'll be one short lap for a car, one giant leap for a Loudon if they really do start on the front foot. But they've got good people. They've got a lot of experienced people here, some who joined up before they got the license to race, and others are joining as well, Crofty, and will join this team. So they can make a virtue of their status as a new team. But the interesting comparison, I think, is with them and Audi. It's the startup versus the manufacturer which bought a team in the shape of Sauber, and Audi producing their own engine. Cadillac have the advantage of Ferrari engines for the first few seasons, and how will they shape up against each other? But yeah, they're doing the right thing by setting their expectations low.
Yeah, I
initially.
mean, let's put a bit of flesh on what Craig was saying there. I went and visited the factory where Craig is at Silverstone end of September last year, and they had a wind tunnel prototype chassis that could go into the wind tunnel. That was there and ready. They were a bit more advanced, as Craig said, because they weren't bound by all the rules and regulations at that point. And that's a plus side. They had a lot of staff working, and that's a plus side. But they've recruited a lot since, and there are big names to come. And you know, I hear stories, and I'm not going to put any names on it, but there's one signing that if that does happen, that will really raise eyebrows in terms of behind the scenes and operational at a racetrack. Dan Tauris, I spoke to in Australia, and he said, look, eventually we want to be beating everybody. You know, that is our goal. We're not coming into this sport to be also rans. We have got big expectations, big targets, but we know it's going to take some time. Look, if they line up 19th and 20th on the grid in Australia, that's really good, because there were 22 cars on the grid next year.
Yeah,
Simon.
all right. Yeah. Good.
So
yeah, you got me on that.
They'll have beaten a couple there, and they'll be with that one. But that is next year. Not to finish last would be a sensational effort. And it's a great comparison Craig comes up with. Audi with a new engine, Cadillac, you know, with a new startup, you know, and who can adapt quickest and best. They've already been running at the factory race weekends in simulating what happens in terms of strategy at mission control. They've been doing that for quite a few races now. They gave their staff the summer break off to get used to the fact that they are part of this summer shutdown. So they're advanced enough to be able to do that, even though they didn't have to. And like I say, they're taking on some very good people, and they're recruiting from other Formula One teams as well. So I certainly know that they're not there to be, you know, last of the last, but I think the way they're going about it, with the experienced people they've got and the ones that are going to come, will, you know, cause a few ruffles up and down the paddock eventually.
Interesting. Can I just add, Dan Tauris, in a briefing yesterday to selected journalists, ruled out a move for Christian Horner and said, yes, we believe in Graham Loudon and Loudon's CV for starting up a team and his experience of doing that and getting points with Marussia. He's the right man at the right time, you'd have to say. But it was interesting to hear that very firm ruling out of any kind of move for Christian Horner, who is on the market.
That's why I was, 100%, 100% backing Graham Lowney. Said, I was wondering, Crofty, if that was the person that you were about to say was
No.
decisive move, but actually it turned down. And
No,
you have to
no.
apologise.
It
Go on.
wasn't a Christian Horner one.
Who is it then? Who is it? Who
I
is
knew
it?
that was. Sorry.
Who is it? What team? Come on.
Oh no, I'm not going to say, but yeah. Look, I'll tell you outside the podcast because I'm not going to break a confidence on this one. But if it happens, it's exactly the sort of person they need, and will make a huge difference within that garage at race weekends. But it's not Christian Horner. It was never going to be Christian Horner, and that certainly won't happen. Because look, Graham Loudon's been involved with this project before they even got the FIA license. He was the advisor to Cadillac and General Motors and Andretti to be able to put the bid together. So he's been there, way from the start. And Graham's a fine team principal, and this time around will have the resources and the budget to do the job properly, which he never really got at Marussia.
No, I remember with him and John Booth all those years ago, and running the teams together. And actually, he's another one of these guys that they're all too rare up and down the paddock. He's extremely honest and deserves a shot, doesn't he? With a big OEM like this to get going. And actually, the team that he's put in place, when you think about him as the kind of former CEO of Virgin and Marussia Manor, he's got Nick Chestrin as technical director, who's former Arrows, Lotus, Mercedes FE, John Tomlinson, the head of Aero, Jordan Renault, Mercedes, John McQuillan, chief designer from his Manor and Marussia days.
Yep.
And then Pat Simmons, he's the CTO of all the TWG Motorsports Group now. So what he's trying to do is he's surrounding himself with a lot of experience, as you need to do. And I suppose the proof will be in the pudding of 2 or 3 years down the line to see if they can start that. But of course, they have got Ferrari engines. It looks like till 29, and then there'll be GM built full works team. F1 dedicated engine factory, GM performance power units near GM's Charlotte Tech Center. So it's about marrying those. Again, it's going to be one of those that has headquarters, Craig, either sides of the Atlantic.
Yeah, but yes, there was at Fisher's over in the States. They're broken ground, or they're about to on that development. It's they're doing what they've got to do. I mean, I think they would have liked a couple of years, 2.5 years, I think Graham Loudon said, to be properly ready. So they are compromised heading into this season, but maybe that takes a little bit of the pressure off, and exactly what Crofty said. If they can avoid being last, or if they can be in touch, then that's a success. In fact, Pat Simmons, who I spoke to for a fair bit of time today, off camera as well as on, very confident that they are on track, that they will be respectable, in his words, and he was talking about. He talked about who we are racing next year, and he included in that bracket teams like Racing Bulls, like Haas, and was observing, we've got 2 winners in our car, which none of them have. In fact, there's only 2 teams currently in F1 that have two race winners in their car, which is Ferrari and McLaren. And 16 wins for those 2 guys announced today. But I was interested more to hear Pat Simmons talk about being competitive with some of those midfield teams, maybe even in the debut season, which suggests to me that they've got things together. They're on top of this. The wheels are not going to fall off at that first test in Jerez.
Yeah. 16 race wins, over 100 podiums. They are the oldest combined age by 1 year on the grid, I think, from Aston Martin. Fernando Alonso is 70 himself, and Lance Stroll a little bit younger. But no one talks. But we don't talk about Alonso's age, and we shouldn't. We don't talk about Lewis Hamilton's age. Really, we shouldn't. If you're young enough in the mind and your body's fit enough, age should not be a barrier on this one. And I think with Sergio and Valtteri, and yes, look, Cadillac could have gone for an Alex Dunn. They could have gone for a Zach Crawford. They could have gone for Colton Herta if he had the super license points. But what they need is 2 drivers that when they get in the car, they know what's good and what's bad. They need experience so that they can give instant feedback, so they don't go down cul-de-sacs in terms of development. They don't go down set-up avenues that are going to be wrong. They need drivers that go, yeah, this works, and this doesn't. And that's why they've gone for both of them. They are proven race winners, but they are proven racers who know how to set up a car and develop it. And that will stand them in such good stead for at least the first 2 seasons.
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously an extremely conscious decision to do that. I mean, it also helps that Sergio Perez brings with him those very loyal personal sponsors too. And a Mexican driver is a huge market, as we know, for the Cadillac brand and for GM. So I suppose you could add that to the mix as well, couldn't you, Craig?
I like the fact they were honest, though. I like the fact that Dan Towers in this briefing yesterday said, no, we had a bit of concern about Checo because of the way things ended at Red Bull, because of maybe where he is in his life. He's a family man now. The fact that he was not part of F1 the way Bottas has been for the last year as a third driver at Mercedes. And they went and had conversations with people to ascertain whether he still had the desire. And actually, Checo there in that little chat with us admitted he had to do a bit of soul searching himself, but he has come to the conclusion he still needs this in his life. It's still it's the power unit that drives him was the kind of phrase he used. So, but let's see. It's always easy at this point before a wheel has rolled. It might be tough for these two guys. Valtteri Bottas had 3 years at Sauber in transition to become a works team. It didn't really go anywhere. It won't be easy if they are running around at the back for two guys who've won races and have fought for championships and who've been at the front. But maybe they need to treat this in the first instance as a job. And we have seen that with some people. They love their craft. They've maybe come back to F1. Hulkenberg's maybe a good example. Nico Hulkenberg, who appreciates there's more to motorsport than maybe just winning races. It's that being part of the team, developing the project and taking pride in your own performance and your own contribution. And certainly we know that's very much part of Valtteri Bottas. I think Checo as well. I think the team there are good characters here that will get around him and be able to exploit him and his best qualities. And I think as well, this business, although he didn't want to admit that he had a problem with the ground effect cars, Pat Simmons, in the conversation I had with him today, insisted that it will be a lot better for some drivers who've maybe had mixed results in recent seasons. And he did pick out Checo and Lewis Hamilton. He thinks they'll be better suited to the new generation.
Quick word on our show partner, Audi. The philosophy of Audi Sport isn't just about winning races, it's about pushing boundaries. Everything learnt on the track goes straight into Audi's road cars, making them just as thrilling as they are refined. Take the Audi RS range, serious performance, but with a level of sophistication and refinement that doesn't need to be loud to make a statement. It's that perfect blend of power and precision wrapped in quiet luxury. Whether it's their powerful style or the RS Sport suspension with Quattro all-wheel drive for razor-sharp handling, Audi is constantly redefining the future of performance. Book a test drive today to experience the Audi RS range for yourself. Last one to you, Crofty. As you mentioned there, Colton Herta. Well, I mean, what does it say at the moment about the state of top-level American drivers? He's not got enough on his super license yet. We understand he's going to do a season in F2 to try to amend that next year. You got Joseph Newgarden, I suppose. Long term, they would love to have an American driver. That is the plan, right? I mean, you'd think now that they'll go about maneuvering themselves to get into that position because, American team with American driver and the size of that market now is the dream ticket, isn't it?
Absolutely. And you haven't mentioned Alex Palou, who I think is that they should be sitting down and having a chat with.
Well, but it's not American.
And Alex is racing superbly well in IndyCar. If you've not followed his season, he is the champion, and we'll see him next year on Sky Sports F1 for some IndyCar action as well. For the time being, Sergio Perez, as a Mexican, satisfies the North American market, as it were. and he's a very, very good starting point to go on from. But to me, Alex Palou for the future. I don't know, Alex. I don't know if Formula One is his long-term ambition. I hope it is, and I hope I see him on the grid, and I hope I get to commentate on him as well.
Yeah. Right. Before we go, just quick one. Let's pick up 10 races to go. I watched that thriller from a beach bar in Thailand. The last one in Budapest was glued to it whilst trying to navigate a pool table playing pool against my daughter and son. But it was a great end to the first half of the season. And now 9 points between the McLaren pair. Craig, I'm excited. I mean, obviously, that's it's going to dominate from here on in. The pressure's just going to keep going. And we'll see whether it can remain cordial, I suppose.
Yeah, I think the points difference certainly doesn't flatter. I think if anything, I think it doesn't flatter Oscar Piastri's first half of the year. I think he'll probably have gone into the summer break thinking I should be further ahead than I am. He maybe hasn't had the rub of the green on a few occasions. Lando Norris has kind of kept himself in it. Let's see. Now, at a Grand Prix where Norris gave one of his best performances, didn't he, last year, where the Norris can kick on. Neither of them, and I think they've proved this. I don't think this is necessarily about momentum now. I think they've both been able to come back when the others have had a strong period. Oscar Piastri's been a little bit more consistent. Let's see. I mean, it's all to play for. You'd be foolish to try and predict who's going to win this, but there's every chance it goes all the way, isn't there?
Since Canada and the crash, Lando Norris has won 3 out of the 4 Grand Prix. Now, arguably, that could have been 2 out of the 4 Grand Prix had Oscar not got the penalty at Silverstone, which we've discussed ad infinitum, and we all think he deserved. But he has, Lando, won 3 out of 4. If there is a thing about momentum in sport, Lando has got that. But he's not got that momentum because Oscar's driving badly. And that, to me, is the beautiful thing about this, is that if there is that crest of a wave, then Oscar has absolutely nothing to fear in terms of his own abilities and his own performances. And we're going to get 2 drivers performing at the peak, pushing each other race by race, right the way through to Abu Dhabi. And look, I'm not going to call it, although I'm not changing my mind. I think Oscar will be champion come Abu Dhabi. That's what I've said all the way through this season.
You just called it then.
I'm not calling it because Lando could easily win this, and I will be hugely chuffed for either, because either will be a first-time world champion in Formula One, and as you know, as we look towards the end of the Lewis Hamilton era of Formula One, because he's not going to be around for 5-6 years, I wouldn't have thought, in F1. Who are the new superstars coming through? Is it Lando Norris? Is it Oscar Piastri? Could well be both. Can Max Verstappen get back to winning titles once again? You know, can Fernando Alonso roll back the years with Aston Martin? Charles Leclerc, George Russell. There are these great superstars, but let's add a new world champion to the mix, and we are definitely going to get that this year, because it is between the 2 McLaren boys, and may the best driver win.
Here, I hope you had a nice break. I was surprised not to see either of you, particularly Crofty, on Toto's boat with the Verstappens. Did you not? They didn't? No?
No, the invite didn't come. I think it got lost in the post a little bit.
You had to make do with the Hamptons. Hey, you and the Hamptons. I never had you and the Hamptons in the same kind of breath. I mean, did you white picket fences and
picket fence heaven in the Hamptons? Yeah. Absolutely adored it, to be fair. And Craig, if you've got a spare 30 million and you want to buy me a house, I'll let you come and live in it one week a year. It's not a problem.
I was in Uganda on holiday. Long story, but I was in a sugar plantation in rural Uganda, and someone came off the quality control line, pointed at me, and said, "Formula One." But I don't take that as any evidence of personal fame. But the world is engrossed in this F1 season. I think that's what I take from that, and we could be in for an absolutely classic final 10 events. I think every one could be something special.
If you are that Ugandan Craig Slater fan, please do write the podcast. Would love to hear from you. I knew that you were big in Uganda. My suspicions confirmed there. Thanks, chap. Great to get back on the road. We'll be in Zandvoort from Thursday, and I hope you can join us for the opening race of the second half of the season.